Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. We are going to be talking about VMCAS and your process for getting through the application and being able to become a vet. My name is Megan Woods. I am the Associate Director for Application Services with the American Association for Veterinary Medical Colleges. My role here is mostly managing VMCAS. So I work with you all as the applicants, but then also all of the universities that are participating in VMCAS that you are going to be applying to. Also assisting me tonight is Diana Dabdoob, the Senior Director for Admissions and Recruitment with AAVMC, and she'll be answering questions. So feel free to just use the Q&A box and she'll get to them. And if we have time, I'll get to some of them live. We'll also be sending out a recording of this to everyone at the end of today's session. So you'll be able to have all of the things I say and also all of the slides, and feel free to share those with anyone you'd like. So we'll get started. The things we're going to talk about today are who we are as the association and this product that we bring and what that means for you and why it matters. But then most of the content of it will be about resources for you and all of the components of the VMCAS application and how you can use it to present yourself well and succeed. So by the end of today's session, you will hopefully understand all about the application process. You'll understand what all of the programs are looking for and how you can best express yourself, and then how this process fits into your pathway into into going to vet school and then ultimately becoming a veterinarian. And you'll know where to focus on. So we hope that you will leave with clarity and confidence and are be able to jump in and not be intimidated at all, because remember that VMCAS is just a software system. It's just a platform. You all have all of the content. You are prepared and ready, and this part should not be stressful. I know some people think that it is, but it really shouldn't be. You've done all of the legwork and you're ready for this journey. So who we are as the association. So some of the main things that we do that are of importance to you as the applicants. The first is accreditation, and we work with the Council on Education, which is a combined between AAVMC and APVMA. And accreditation ensures that all of the programs you're applying to meet a set of standards. And that set of standards applies to US programs, Canadian programs, and a slew of international programs as well. And the reason that going to a school that is accredited is really important to you is that because you go to a school that's accredited, you can then sit for the NAVLE and practice veterinary medicine in the US. If you choose to go to a school that is not accredited by the COE, that process is significantly more difficult. So all of the schools that are in VMCAS hold the COE accreditation. So if you're applying to any school in VMCAS, know that you are then going to be able to sit for the NAVLE and practice in the US. The one slight exception to that is that the two schools in Texas are accredited. They're excellent schools, but they are not in VMCAS, and that's only because of a law in Texas, because Texas sometimes just does things all on their own. So know that those are great schools. Also, all of the schools in VMCAS are accredited, and that is important for you as the applicant. Other things that we do include advocacy. We work with lobbyists, we work on the Hill and ensure that lawmakers and decision makers understand the importance of veterinary medicine, and specifically right now, a lot of things related to higher education. So working on difficulties we know every applicant is facing with financing their education. So we continue to work with this and continue to advocate on your behalf and on behalf of all of veterinary schools. And then also we provide lots of support to you as the applicant. So things like VMCAS and this webinar, and also some other in-person resources that we have for you and some other products. So these are two of them. We have a vet school directory, applytovetschool.org. Hopefully many of you have had an opportunity to look at this. If you haven't, I recommend perusing it. It's got all of kinds of resources and all of the requirements for all of the vet schools, so you can be able to compare them. And then also we have some in-person networking opportunities. So we have an upcoming in-person pre-vet career fair. If you are interested, it will be this next Saturday, April 18th. It will be in Washington, D.C., and we have about 20 vet schools that will be present there, and also a keynote speaker, Dr. Ferguson of the Critter Fixtures, will also be there and will be there. You'll be able to ask in-person questions. If you happen to be in the area and you're interested, scan this QR code and you can sign up. We hope to see you there. And now for the meatier part of today's presentation. So VMCAS, this is the URL. I hope that you have gone into it. If you are right now working on your application in preparation for attending vet school in fall 2027, all of the information in here will be applicable to you right now. If you are a go-getter and you're not going to be looking to apply for a few more years in the future, please feel free to also log into VMCAS and make a test account and just familiarize yourself with the application. Any information you add to it will roll over to next year and future years when you decide that you are ready to submit an application. So it can't hurt. Just knowing how the information is asked can maybe help you prepare better for it. And the schools won't see your information until you actually submit the application. So if you're going in the future, you're welcome to just explore it. And for those that maybe don't know, I'll just back up a minute. VMCAS is the centralized application service for all of the colleges of veterinary medicine. It means that we have a centralized place for all of you to input your information. There are 3 main quadrants where everyone inputs information in the same way. And then there's one section where you're able to select each of the universities you're interested in applying to. And that information only goes to those schools you're interested in, and the other ones can't see it. So it's very similar to the Common App. Every health profession has something like this. So it's hopefully a familiar type of system for you. Some of the key dates you need to be aware of in our system is that it already opened. It opens January 21st, and that allowed you as the applicants to be able to see the first 3 sections of it. So all of your biographical information, your educational information, and then your experiences you've been able to enter and you can work on now. And in about a month, we will be adding all of the universities. And so then you'll begin to see the list of the 50 or so universities that participate in VMCAS, and you'll be able to look at the requirements for each of those and submit those applications. Starting May 7th is also the first day that you can elect to request a fee waiver. So we provide assistance for any student that qualifies for this. We encourage you to take a look at it and pass it on to any of your colleagues, your other students that might qualify for this. Anyone that makes 300% or less of the federal poverty line, we will pay for the first application fee, and that is around $48,000 a year or so based on your last tax return. Just continuing on the timeline, August 6th will be the last day that you can request the professional transcript entry. This is an additional service that you will see advertised in VMCAS. Know that it is entirely optional. The purpose of it is to do the data entry for you for your transcripts. Know that this does not improve the quality of your application, nor does it make it faster. It is simply paying for someone else to do the data entry. So if you are able to do that and you have the time, please consider just doing it yourself and ignoring the advertisements for the professional transcript entry. But if you wish for that, it is available for you. And the last day to request it is August 6th. And then the final deadline for everyone is September 15th. It is at 11:59 Eastern Time. Please note that Eastern Time part. Every year we have some applicants who are on the West Coast and the Midwest and miss that part of it, and they miss out. So you have spent so long preparing for this moment. Do not wait until the last minute. You never know what can happen. So don't wait until even the last few hours or even the last day. For example, note that this webinar was rescheduled from last week. And the reason for that is that the power went out in my neighborhood for 10,000 people in the middle of the day, and I couldn't host it. And power lines were cut down because somebody was doing tree trimming work, and a huge swaths of my city were without power or internet, and I couldn't do anything about it. And so things like that just happen, and don't wait until the last minute because this is too important to be putting yourself into that kind of stressful situation. So keep the deadline in mind. Now, this year's application looks a little bit different if you have logged in years past. We upgraded it this year to allow for it to be more mobile friendly, and so that you can complete the application entirely on a phone or a tablet, as we know that lots of people have been. And so the navigation will be a little bit different and hopefully a lot more intuitive and a lot more smooth if you are completing parts of it or the entire thing on mobile devices. Just know that if you have used it before, some things just kind of look, they might be in different places. For example, this status bar at the very top of the page that says CAS status, that part is a new feature, and it just allows you to more clearly see your progress through the application. Your goal is to get to the end where it says verified. Similarly, where you enter in your transcripts is just a little bit different. Hopefully, if you haven't used it before, it will be entirely intuitive and you can walk through the whole thing. We have a wizard that helps you with it. Just know that maybe just take a look at it and familiarize yourself with this. One of the areas you're able to start working on right now, even though the universities aren't in there yet, is that you can report all of your colleges attended. This is a really important part of the application, and it's really important that you report every institution you have attended, everywhere you have earned credit, even if that credit then transferred somewhere else later. We need to know, and we need to have a transcript for where the credit originated. So if you have taken community college courses that then transfer to your primary institution later, we need the transcripts from the community college, and we need you to incorporate that college attended, list that school separately. There's a few exceptions to this. One is most study abroad programs, the coursework is, the credit is listed on the US institution that hosted the program. And so you don't need a transcript from the international school that you might have attended for that semester. There's a few exceptions, so take a look at our help center just in case, but for the most part, study abroad doesn't need to have a separate transcript. And also coursework that you took while you were in high school for college or university credit, that college credit originated on a college transcript. So you do not need to send us your high school transcripts. We can't accept those. And so just a reminder to list just each institution just once. And even if no degree was earned, you still need to list that institution. And you need to send the transcripts from everyone. You should wait until you have spring grades to send in your transcripts so you can send them in the summer. You don't need to wait until you have summer grades. You are able to submit an application while those courses are in progress, or maybe you're not even taking summer grades, maybe you'll have completed it. And so if you have additional grades or courses after the spring semester, you're able to do an academic update and just send in that handful of courses and get the transcripts updated. But you should wait until your spring grades are in, and then you can start entering in your transcripts. You can even submit the application right away. If you have earned coursework outside of the US in some capacity other than a study abroad program, say you are an international student and you took coursework in your home country before coming to the US to complete other parts, or you took maybe the vet prep program at a university like Ross or some other international course. We require a WES evaluation, which is the World Education Service, and we have to have a course-by-course evaluation of this. This translates both the language of your transcript into English, but also the coursework system, because some international schools grade on a totally different type of educational system than the US. So this translates it so that the US institutions are able to read that and can compare your grades. That process does take a little extra time, so make sure you request a WES course-by-course evaluation with plenty of time, at least a month. I'd probably give yourself 2 to make sure that that's in and there aren't any problems with it. We only accept electronic transcripts and not emailed transcripts. So we have electronic transcripts that come directly from Parchment or the National Clearinghouse, and most of your institutions will work with one of those. If that's not available, then we certainly accept paper transcripts. The majority of schools nowadays do this electronic transmission, but if not, there's a process to have the paper transcripts sent, and that is within the little wizard within your application. And there's a cover sheet you can download, a little barcode on it so that the transcript matches your application, and then it is all pretty seamless. So when you request those, just make sure you're following along on the status so that you know that we've received it. For this electronic transcript transmission, sometimes it happens right within that same day, sometimes just a few days later. So it's pretty fast. But I'd recommend doing it as soon as you can. The VMCAS essay has been updated this year. Hopefully, it has just been clarified. We haven't changed it a whole lot. So we want you to be able to speak to this question. Based on your current understanding of careers in veterinary medicine, how do you aspire to contribute to the profession? We want to make sure that you have given yourself plenty of time to organize your thoughts and write this well. We ask that you avoid cliches, that you take this opportunity to allow the admissions committee to really understand who you are and your process to getting to this point. We do have a, when you sign up in VMCAS, you are asked to sign a release statement that indicates no one else has helped you with this, including AI. In addition to it being part of our code of conduct that you have agreed to not, it's also in your best interest to not. This is really your chance to show the committee who you are as an individual, and it's something they really want to know. And so let your own voice and your own experience shine through this. Certainly have others proofread it and make sure that it is a good representation of you and your own character, your ideals, your aspirations. And this is your opportunity to really shine. In addition to the VMCAS essay, there is an opportunity for you to have an explanation statement in here. This is entirely optional. You don't have to enter anything in here if you don't wish to, but it is there for you in case there is something that you just feel that you need to explain that might not be covered anywhere else in your application. And some uses for this could be that maybe a particular semester your grades were poor because you had an illness or a family situation or some external circumstance that really had an impact. Or maybe you changed majors and you changed your pathway and you want a chance to explain maybe some grades or a gap if something happened in your life. It's not necessarily to explain something bad. It could be to explain something that is good. But just know that you don't have to use this, but if you have sort of an extenuating circumstance, you can. If you opt to use this, we recommend that you just keep the statement brief. You keep it brief and professional and not emotional, and just clearly and concisely explain the situation. Our admissions committees are really understanding that everyone is human and life happens and we get it. And it's a great opportunity to show growth. Perhaps if you had something that was an adverse situation, to show how you overcame it and how you are ready now to proceed in your career path. The next section in here is recommendation letters, and right now is a great time for you to be requesting these from your letter writers. So VMCAS requires that you request 3 letters of recommendation. There are a few sections in here that your recommenders will see, and so they'll have a Likert scale that you'll be able to, I'll show you on the next slide, and then also an uploaded letter where they can attest to your qualities as a future veterinarian. Most of these schools ask that you have at least one of these letters is from a practicing veterinarian that you have a relationship with. Many other programs want a faculty member, and then you could have, say, an employer or someone else that knows your qualities as a future student and as a future vet. Keep in mind that this is an opportunity to have these 3 people, or you can have up to 6, at least 3. So you can have many. To have people that can show a broad range of you as a person. So having people that know you in multiple capacities is really wise. Having 3 letters from 3 people that all work at the same vet clinic and have all seen what you've done there isn't nearly as powerful as having one outstanding letter from the veterinarian that you worked with there, and then also somebody that can speak to your research skills and someone else that can speak to your leadership and customer service and interpersonal communication and any other great attribute that you have to show the well-roundedness of you as an individual and your level of preparation to take on the difficulties of vet school. So there is a letter writer guide that comes within the email request to all of your letter writers. So they'll also see this and we give them some tips. The way it works is that in VMCAS, you make the recommendation and you list who you want you list who you want to make your recommendation. And then it prompts them, it sends them an email. They'll then get that email and log into a separate system to upload the letter. So you'll never get to see the letter. And you should be sure to ask your letter writers ahead of time. Don't let that system prompt be the first time they've heard about it. So be in touch with them and then let them know they'll be receiving that. Now is a great time to be asking for that. The deadline for this is the same as the overall VMCAS deadline of September 15th. So make sure you give them plenty of time and also reminders. You'll be able to see the status of if we've received the letters of recommendation in the application up in the check status section. So just keep on top of it, know if we've gotten them. If we haven't, you should be reaching out to your letter writers and make sure they're reminded, they're still aware, they're still going to be able to do it for you, things like that. And this is the areas in which they will be evaluating you on, in addition to just uploading a full letter. They'll be rating you on each one of these areas. So selecting a letter writer that is aware of your skills in each of these areas, or at least some of these areas, making sure that you have a full picture. So some letter writers that are able to speak to multiple areas here, and then hopefully combined, you'll get somebody that can rate you in all of them. All right, the next large section of the application is your experience hours. And so this is sort of the portfolio you're building and all of the work you've done, and this is your ability to show it all. And so we want to be able to see that you've explored the profession, you understand what it's all about, you've worked with animals and with people, you've thought intentionally about it, and understand that there really is no perfect experience. Being able to showcase that you have wide exposure to the profession, you understand what you're getting into, and that you have demonstrated growth is something that's really important to all of the schools. Also, I want to highlight the importance of both working with animals and being able to highlight how your skills with people matter. So don't dismiss experiences such as retail or customer service kinds of experiences that have nothing to do with animals, because those types of jobs can really showcase and really help you build interpersonal skills, which are very important in this profession. One of my colleagues, Dr. Lisa Greenhill, likes to joke that you might like her dog and go into this profession in order to help her dog. But remember, her dog does not have a credit card and that she has the Amex and you have to be able to talk to her. And so that part's important, and being able to showcase and highlight in your application those kinds of skills is going to be really useful to you. So just focus on the broad range that you have and how all of those have led you to where you are right now, and be able to demonstrate how each of those, how you have grown in each of those, and how that's going to be beneficial to you as a veterinarian. So we've divided the experience areas into a few sections. Two big ones are veterinary experience and animal experience. The veterinary experience is where you are working directly with a veterinarian. And so they need to be a licensed veterinarian. You can be in a clinic, in agricultural, health science, any field, any area. You could be shadowing them. You can be working alongside mixed animals or rural. You could be something in a zoo setting, anything under the guidance of a veterinarian. We also want to see animal experience, and this is hands-on outside of that clinical setting. So many of you will have had lots of experience with this. If you have been working in farms and ranches, if you've been volunteering in animal shelters, all of the other kinds of animal care and animal trainings that you have experience with. And this really shows comfort with the different kinds of animals, the responsibility and the commitments to it. And so both of these experiences showcase different parts of what we're looking for in applicants. And so being able to highlight how you have all of them, it's going to be helpful. But that's not the only thing. There's other things that are going to strengthen your application. You could have experience with research. You could have employment that's not animal related, such as those customer service things, or perhaps you're a career changer. You've had an entire career as an accountant or something in marketing, and there will be an interesting pathway that you can highlight on how that is able to translate into the skills you'll need in a clinical setting as a veterinarian. So being able to share that story. Different kinds of extracurricular activities, including leadership opportunities in clubs, and different hobbies, different areas, volunteer things, community services, tutoring might be something that you've been involved in. So you should include all of your experiences from high school onward and only include hours that you have completed up until the deadline. If you say have a planned internship or something else, you can add that in the description section to say that those things are coming, but you can't report those hours if they have not occurred by the deadline. Be sure not to double count any of your experiences, so don't list something in both animal and veterinary experience or in something as employment and veterinary. You just make sure you pick it in one category. And don't exclude anything. Let the committee be the one to decide if they think that it is valuable and it could be applicable. And focus on what you did and what you learned. Most importantly, your growth, how this you have benefited and the progress you've made in it, not just a list of tasks and hours. And your quality of the experiences and your reflection on them matters significantly more than just the sheer quantity. So in each of the areas you're listing these experiences in VMCAS, there is a text section where you can describe what you've done. You'll have 700 characters in order to make that description. That is a 100-character increase this year from last year. So if you're a reapplicant or if you looked at it before, you have slightly more space to describe this. And being able to succinctly describe your reflection and your growth in there is kind of what you're going for. So practice on consolidating that and making sure it's easy to read and that it can highlight you as the applicant. And I said earlier to make sure that you aren't kind of double dipping your hours. This chart is able to help you with that. So it might be something handy to keep in mind on how sure your experiences aren't double crossing. So really it's kind of the veterinarian one is going to be your primary. So if it's research related, choose that. If it's extracurricular, choose that. Now, if it's animal related and supervised by a veterinarian, choose that even if it is paid. Same with animal related. So even if it is paid or volunteer, you're going to want to highlight that it was a veterinary experience or an animal experience, and that's the category you're going to want to put it in, because those are kind of the most important tier that a lot of the committees are looking at. In addition to VMCAS, some schools will require additional information from you. A lot of them will have additional questions that are within the VMCAS application. You don't have to go anywhere else. Some have that separate section outside of the VMCAS application, and there'll be instructions for that in the homepage that each program lists in the VMCAS application. So when you click on the school, you'll see a block of text and description, and they'll give you those instructions there if they're going to want you to go somewhere else. And then on each of their websites, they'll have this description. Sometimes they also charge a fee, not always. And if they do, it's usually between $50 and $100. The fee waivers that VMCAS provides, unfortunately, don't cover those additional fees. Sometimes the universities might have funds for that. So if that's of interest or a need for you, you're welcome to contact them about it. And those things are just outside of the VMCAS section. So just to make sure that you're aware of all of the requirements of the universities that you're looking at, and maybe make a spreadsheet so that you're not caught lost on any of those in case they have a different deadline or something like that. So sometimes those supplemental applications will include additional questions. They could be like a short essay, some type of school-specific requirement, usually something like a residency verification. They might ask for documentation. It's not always like a question you have to think about and answer. Sometimes it's just additional information, additional documentation, things you need to provide. So that is the core of the VMCAS application. Now, if you've completed all of that information, you have listed all of your experiences, you've sent us in your transcripts, you've listed all your coursework, you've completed your biographical information and the things from all of the universities you're interested in, you're ready to submit. So up until that point, you're listed as an in-progress applicant. Right now, everybody's an in-progress applicant because you can't submit applications. You can't submit them until May 7th. So after that has happened and you are ready, you hit submit, you pay the money. We do not need to have your letters of recommendation or your transcripts in order for that process to happen. So whenever you have completed all of the parts of your application that you have control over, you can hit submit. Now, make sure you're watching that status bar at the top of your application. And your goal is for your application to be verified. So once we have received all of your transcripts, you can go through our verification process. And this just means all of the coursework that you entered in the earlier part of the application, our team verifies that what you entered in matches what's on your transcripts. And also that we've received any additional transcripts, like an international one from Wes. Your letters of recommendation also don't need to arrive as part of this. Once that process is finished and you're verified, your application is ready and the schools have access to everything and they can begin processing it. So the reason that we do this verification process, the reason we ask that you both data enter all of your coursework and also send us in your transcripts, but there's a couple of reasons. The main one is that if you've ever looked at a transcript, they're notoriously difficult to read and make sense of. And by you entering in all of your coursework, it allows the admissions committee an opportunity to see all of the different ways that all the different kinds of courses you've taken in a really easy to read grid. And it allows them to look at GPAs a little differently than they might on a stack of transcripts from 3 or 4 different universities. So it is in your best interest to be able to do this, even though that data entry part we know is a little tedious. It really does help you as the applicant because it allows the universities to look at, say, just your science GPA. So if you took that one economics course as a freshman and didn't do very well in it because that's not your passion, it probably won't hurt you. What they're really looking for is that your skills in the classes that are relevant to veterinary medicine. It also allows them to look at the last 45 credits of your school experience, which a lot of our vet schools look at that because they know that that is your higher level courses, that is showcasing more of your qualifications right now as you're preparing to enter into this programs. And so maybe what you did in your freshman year when you were exploring careers isn't nearly as important as what you're capable of right now. So being able to showcase that growth, your grades have probably improved as you have, your study skills have improved, your career as a student have improved. So those are the reasons. And just know all of that process, what we're looking for is verified. Do not stop checking the status of your application until you see that verified part. Every year we have a couple of hundred applications that kind of get stuck in this received status because they've never sent in transcripts. We're missing some kind of documentation, something's gone wrong. And we don't want any of you to be stuck in that situation. So don't stop looking until it's verified. If you find it's in a different status and you are concerned about that, you don't understand why, feel free to reach out to our customer service team. They'll be able to explain it to you. Hopefully all of that information is also easily described in the check status page so you'll know what's going on. We try to make this as transparent as possible. But we also understand sometimes things happen, and in our verification process, you may have made a mistake and you maybe entered something in wrong, or you didn't send in one of those transcripts because you didn't think about it, you didn't know that you needed to. So if you have submitted your application before the deadline, uh, we go through this verification process as soon as you've submitted it. We have the time, we can send it back to you. You're able to correct it. So you're able to fix the mistake and move forward. And that's everyone's goal. We want to be able to support you in all of this, which is why not waiting until the very last minute is really important. So doing this ahead of time allows you the chance to fix any mistakes that might have happened, any if you entered in, prefixes from a transcript wrong, or something wasn't, it was missed, you typos or something happened. Could be something big, could be something small. We want to make sure that you have that chance to fix it. So give yourself that time. As I mentioned before, we have a fee assistance program. So the cost for applying to vet school is $241 for the first application you submit, and then $132 for each additional application. We fund over $250,000 every year to be able to help any student that has a demonstrated financial need to pay that first designation cost, that first application. And that's either a financial need or a service-based need. So if you have been an AmeriCorps volunteer, a Peace Corps, U.S. military, a list of service organizations like that. McNair Scholars is one. Or if you are a resident in a UN least developed country, we will pay for that first designation. In addition to that, we also have a process to be able to offer fee waivers for other circumstances. Multicultural scholars and anyone that has a unique special case. Maybe you didn't make enough money to file federal taxes. We'll provide it for that. Maybe something has happened in your life that's really drastic, and you really just need the assistance. And you are welcome to write that letter. It goes to the committee that we work with of faculty and admissions directors, and we'll review them and be able to provide you with that assistance. So even if you yourself don't qualify for this, make sure you spread the word to any other students on your campuses that you work with, anyone else that you are friends with, so that everyone knows that this program exists. We want to be able to help everyone that we can. All right, as you're thinking of your timeline, know that there is no right path. There is no correct timeline. It's not necessarily lockstep. Lots of students take a gap year. You also don't even need to have finished a bachelor's in order to apply to the majority of schools. So if you are one of those students that's ready early and you've finished all your prerequisites, you can actually apply without even graduating from your undergrad. And if you're one of the students that maybe you want a little more experience, you're not entirely sure, you're not entirely ready, you don't have the hours, you think you'd benefit from that, that's wonderful too. Committees don't look at either of those necessarily negatively. Every student and their pathway is different. And it's what really matters is your academic readiness, that you've had enough meaningful experiences that you can contribute as a student and as a future professional, and that you're able to show that growth and that reflection. And also know that vet school is really competitive. I'm sure you all know this, that every year thousands of people apply, we don't actually have thousands of seats available. So while you all might be entirely prepared and a competitive applicant, sometimes it really is just a numbers game. And so keeping in mind, there is no perfect applicant. Growth matters more than perfection. You can't freak yourself out about this. So just be prepared. There's a lot of different areas that a lot of different programs are looking for. They're all looking for strong academics, good experiences, and good personal qualities, leadership, interpersonal skills. But also a lot of them are looking for how applicants like you would fit the mission and vision and values of that particular institution. And so you should also be looking at the universities that fit your goals. So it's a give and take. They choose the students that might fit their institution best. You should be choosing institutions that fit you best. Being able to demonstrate your readiness, your your growth, your reflections. Those are all the big parts of what's going to make you successful in this. After you apply, a lot of schools, but not all schools, have interviews. They're either virtual or in person. Some of them vary in format. Some are just one long block with one individual. Some are the MMI style interviews with multiple different people in the short formats. And then your three outcomes. You're going to be accepted, waitlisted, or not accepted. And we know that if you are not accepted, that is going to be obviously really disappointed, but just keep in mind that many, many successful veterinarians have had to apply more than once. Almost a third of our applicant pool each year is reapplicants. And so you are in good company, and taking that opportunity to self-reflect, show your growth the next time you apply, reflect on those opportunities that you've had. How can you strengthen your academics, your experiences? How can you improve yourself? You can also ask a lot of the universities for a file review, and they might be able to tell you areas of your application that could be strengthened and why you weren't accepted and how you can improve it for the future. So we are all about that persistence, that improvement, and that growth in this profession. And so know that we hope that you are all accepted, but there really just aren't enough seats for all of the veterinarians that are interested in all of the ones that we weren't needed. So we're working on adding more schools every year. We've got 2 new ones this year. There'll be 2 new ones next year. So we're hoping that someday in the future we'll be able to match that need. But please don't be disappointed or too discouraged should you find yourself in this situation. You might just need to apply to more schools or different schools, or maybe add something to your application. So, depending on where you are in your process, these would be your next steps. So if you are still in an early undergraduate, this is your chance to be exploring the profession, exploring different areas of veterinary medicine, trying to get as many kinds of experiences as you can, and figuring out what you're really interested in. And making sure you are doing really well in all of your prerequisite courses. That's perhaps the most important part. You have an opportunity also to talk to a pre-vet advisor or a pre-health advisor, especially if those are available on your campuses. We have a lot of the resources at AAVMC that apply to vet school. .org site, VetMed Pathways is another one that we offer, ways to just explore the career. And then if you are nearing your application, this is your time to be entering in all of your information, finalizing your experiences, writing that quality essay, getting your recommenders. So this is how you're going to be preparing now. This is, we know, a big one that that a lot of people have to be thinking about, especially now politically. A lot of the with the one big beautiful bill that passed last year, things to the situation in loans, student loans, have really changed. This landscape has really changed. And so beginning this year, we know that the elimination of the Grad Plus loan has altered how a lot of students are able to prepare for graduate school. So we are a professional program, and the loan cap for the professional program is set at $200,000. And there are changes to that repayment plan. So just making sure you're aware of all of the changes with federal funding. There are resources on most of the campuses you're applying to. You can talk to the financial aid office about exactly how to do that, and then also be considering the different, perhaps private loans, other ways that you might need to be getting financial assistance. We, Diana and myself, are not financial aid experts and cannot answer questions regarding this, but we would highly encourage you to go visit the financial aid offices or call them at any of the schools that you're looking at, and they'll be able to help you understand your pathways here. So this is just your timing, your life as an applicant right now, the things that you should be working on. So in this section of the calendar year right now, you're going to be working on those first 3 areas that I've talked about. And as soon as your spring courses are over, you can start requesting your transcripts and making sure that that verification process is done if you're ready to submit your application. And so with that, we'll see if there are any questions. Diana, if you want to come off mute and let me know if there's any questions in the chat.
Yes. Yeah. There. Thanks, Megan. There is a question in the chat. And the question is, if I have three recommendation letters from veterinarians at the same clinic, but also three letters from different employers, would that be acceptable? Does VMCAS look at more than the minimum number of recommendations? So, do you want to start now?
Yeah. We FinCast, you are allowed to have more than the minimum letter of recommendations, up to six, making sure that you have at least one recommendation from all of the areas that the universities have asked for. So one that's a veterinarian, if they want one that's a professor, one that's an employer, make sure you're covering all those bases. Having more um, I think more isn't necessarily better. There are some schools that only look at three, and those schools do indicate that somewhere on their website that they'll only want three, and usually then that means that they'll just look at the first three, um, and so you don't have control over that over when they submit. So making sure that all of the people you're asking for are going to be um, all able to write you high quality, positive letters, and that they'd all be equally weighted because in case a school is only looking at some of them and not all six of them, you don't want your best letter to be one that isn't viewed. Diana, do you have things to add to that?
Yeah. Just a few more things with regards to recommendation letters, and that would be thinking about, so while you have six opportunities to request letters, um, one thing to keep in mind is that people are busy. And so let's say that there is a situation where your recommenders are not able to complete the recommendation letter and you have used all six, then you don't have a free spot to potentially ask someone else. So something just to keep in mind is it's great that you have three from one clinic and three from employers, maybe prioritizing who you think will write you the best letter and then keeping some of those other ones as potential that you may need to go to if some of your first top people are just not able to complete that recommendation. That way you have some free spots in the recommendation portal to ask the questions. The other thing that I would say two is while it's great that you have three veterinarians from the same clinic, having them speak to different aspects of what your kind of skills and ability would be great. You know, if they're all going to be kind of sharing the same thing about you, like what story is that creating about you, right? You want to identify recommenders that can talk about different areas of you. So, for example, if let's say instead of three employers and three veterinarians, maybe there's a faculty advisor that can talk about your academics or a um, faculty person that you've been involved with related to um, maybe associations or like clubs, organizations in your university that can talk about your leadership skills, right? So think about like what story all those letters together are going to tell about you. And if there are kind of gaps that are missing, maybe there's someone that you can identify that can fill in that gap. So again, this is your opportunity to create the story that you want those admissions committees to know. And the recommendations are one component of that. So take advantage of the ability to be able to really create a great version of yourself that you can share with those committees. And then as Megan said, I put in the chat some links. The applytoVetSchool.org should contain the required number of recommendation letters for the program. So really your biggest thing is making sure you know what those requirements are. But really great question.
But do we have any other questions?
Um, there is another question. Hold on. Okay. Don't we have to submit recommendation letters through liaison letters? Does this allow us to store letters? I know other health related schools use Interfolio, so I was wondering if there's something like that for VetMed.
VetMed does not use Interfolio. You do have your letter writer is the one that submits their letters through Letters by Liaison. That is the portal that they'll use. That is not what you use as an applicant. So as an applicant, you make that request right through the VMCAS system, which sends the communication to the individual letter writer. They then upload their letter through Letters by Liaison. So that's the portal that they'll use. So you as the applicant aren't ever in that system, and we don't have interfolio or committee letters.
Good question.
Anything to add to that one, Diana?
No, I think you
Okay.
covered it. Let's see if there's
All right.
Any other questions? You have Megan's attention here.
Yeah.
So great. Maybe you can share with us, are most of you planning, are you applying this cycle? Just say yes if you are, and say no if you're applying in a future cycle. You can type it in the chat. Okay. And we have a few people. Okay, great. This is another great question. Okay, it says, hi, Megan. I'm an international student from Indonesia. Will our recommendation letters and shadowing logs be accepted if they're signed by a veterinarian who isn't a member of the American Board of Veterinary Specialties? Who can sign our shadowing logs? And then do you have any tips for international students applying through VMCAS? Really great question. So I can try to take a stab at this one. So for VMCAS or for veterinary medicine, we do not require any sign off on any of the experiences. So this is really kind of an honor system that the applicant will enter their information on where they did their experiences, provide the name of the organization or hospital, the name of the person that was the supervisor, and that is also including, the veterinarian too. So again, all of this is really an honor system. And again, you're applying for a professional graduate program. So we expect that you're going to be truthful in your responses in the application. So to answer your question, there is no kind of signing off. For international students, I think you should really look at the instructional information for each of the schools that you're considering applying to. They may have a separate process for international students to apply, or they may also use VMCAS, which is fine, but you want to make sure that you're applying in the correct process and the correct application. So that would be, kind of my recommendation there is making sure that you understand, and also understand if the program is accepting international students. There are some of our schools that do not accept international students and are only looking for US students. So that's something to be aware of. Um, so I think if you start there and start to identify, what schools you may be eligible to apply to through VMCAS, then and understanding what any additional information you may need to provide to the school as an international student, you should be good to go. But this is also where I suggest reaching out to the programs directly as you are an international student and making sure that you have completed everything that you need. The other piece, as Megan mentioned, we require a World Education Service evaluation for any foreign coursework. So if you, as an international student, did your coursework in Indonesia and have coursework there, then you would need to get a WES evaluation. And that would require you to request that a few weeks in advance to be able to make sure you're meeting the deadlines. Any other things you want to add,
Yeah,
Megan?
I
Yeah.
want to add to that. Your question about whether or not if it's okay if they're not licensed by the
Yes.
U.S. licensing board. While we don't require a log, we do. Most of the schools do want a licensed veterinarian to be writing that letter of recommendation. And as far as I know, Diana, please correct me if I'm wrong here, that it is as long as you are licensed in the country in which you are practicing, that is considered a veterinarian for the purpose of writing that letter of recommendation.
Yes, that's great. Great question. Any?
All right, any others? All right, seeing none, we want to thank you all for joining us tonight and your time here. This, again, as I said earlier, this webinar will be recorded and sent out to you. It'll also be sent out to all applicants in the VMCAS pool and put on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to reference it in the future. And please, if you have direct questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is mwoods@aavmc or to Diana directly. We'd be happy to assist you. And as well as the VMCAS customer service team, they'll be able to look more closely at your specific application, can help with anything that is unique, maybe an odd situation you have. We really want to just be able to support you through this process. It's just a software system. It's not so scary. You're going to be great, and we're really excited to have you as future veterinarians. So thank you, everyone. Have a great night.